My name is Marley Hart, and I'm 33 years old, and for most of the past 4 years, I've been the unofficial chef, event planner, therapist, emergency fund, and all-around problem solver for my boyfriend Ethan's family. Not because I'm paid, not because I'm asked nicely, because somewhere along the line, they decided I was theirs, a tool, a convenience, wrapped in politeness and fake praise. And until last week, I let them. Start cooking at 3 o'clock a.m., Lydia, my mother-in-law in every way except legality, ordered, as she slapped a sheet of paper into my hand. A list. A long one. 50 guests, she added, with the same tone people use when delivering a weather report. And this time, Marley, make sure everything turns out perfect. It's Grandma's 72nd. Behind her, Ethan lounged on the couch, scrolling sports on mute. He didn't even look up when he added, "Yeah, babe, just make it perfect this time." I forced a smile so smooth it felt rehearsed. Of course. Inside, something cracked. I didn't realize then how important that crack would become. I was standing at the kitchen counter in Lydia's house, my usual stage, writing detailed prep times on sticky notes. Turkey at 5 a.m., sides at 6:15, frost cake at 8:00. My handwriting looked calm. My hands didn't feel calm. I had brought my own knives because theirs were too dull, my own pans because theirs were scratched, a cooler full of pre-diced onions, celery, herbs, garlic because their kitchen never had enough. I had turned their dining room into a prep station and nobody even blinked. "Don't forget gluten-free for Kathy," Lydia said, tapping the list like a foreman with a clipboard. "Low sodium for Uncle Ray. And Nana hates thyme. None of that this year." Her voice was a constant drone. Her expectations were an avalanche. I tried to nod, but my jaw was locked so tight it hurt. "And Marley," she went on, "absolutely no store-bought shortcuts. You know your food tastes better. Family shouldn't eat chemicals." I wrote "no chemicals" next to deviled eggs and wondered how my life had become a satirical grocery list. In the corner, her portable speaker chirped. She clapped. "Sound check for the slideshow, and make sure the TV colors are right this time. Last year, Mom looked ill." Another task silently added to my column. Ethan finally glanced over long enough to say, "Also, don't blow the budget like Thanksgiving. We don't need fancy olives." Fancy olives, that I paid for, just like everything else last Thanksgiving. I opened my mouth, then I closed it. The words were boiling, too hot to speak without causing a fire. When Lydia finished ordering me around, she patted my shoulder like she was dismissing a maid. "I'll go get some rest so I'm fresh to host," she said. "Set your alarm, honey." She walked away humming. Ethan yawned. "Wake me if you need me," he mumbled. Which meant don't. I cleaned a mixing bowl I had already washed, just to have something to do. I lined up foil trays in careful rows. Anything to stop myself from thinking about the fact that nobody had asked if I was okay. That's when the thought hit me like a paper cut. Small, sharp, unexpected. What if I just didn't? But before we get to the moment that thought became real, you need to understand how I got here. Ethan and I met 4 years ago. Back then, I made more money. I had benefits, a steady schedule. He was freelancing, promising the next quarter would be the one where he really takes off. I didn't mind. I grew up in a house where you pitch in and don't keep score. Lydia loved that about me. "You're such a doer," she'd say, one arm around me, the other handing me a roll of tape. "You're the only one who gets things right." At first, it felt like belonging. Then it became routine. Then it became expectation. Then it became a leash. First Christmas together, the caterer fell through. I said I'd handle it. Fun, I thought. Why not? People raved. Lydia declared me a natural, like she was bestowing a crown. On Easter, the bakery messed up the order. I stepped in again. 4th of July, the grill wouldn't light. I marinated chicken on the porch while Ethan filmed TikToks with his cousins. By the second year, there was no caterer to fall through. There was just me. Then came the money. Not directly, never directly. It was, "Can you spot us? We'll settle up later." Ethan forgetting his wallet. Lydia insisting family shouldn't nickel and dime, squeezing my hand like I was joining something noble. When Ethan's car died, I co-signed a loan. When his student loan servicer was a nightmare, I put it on auto pay. When Lydia wanted a new dishwasher because hers lacked a third rack, I filled out the forms and the bill defaulted to me. Anytime I hesitated, she had a script ready. "We're family. You're not like an in-law, you're ours. Don't be cold." Cold. Her favorite insult for any woman with boundaries. 2 summers ago, we had an anniversary trip planned, a lakeside cabin. 3 days, just us. 2 days before, Lydia called. Your father-in-law's knee is acting up. We need you to reorganize the garage and move the washer to the basement. You're strong, Marley. Ethan gave me that helpless look. You know we have to, he said. We canceled, spent the weekend lifting boxes while Lydia supervised in flip-flops. She bought sandwiches and declared it square. Last fall, I got promoted, a raise, a bonus. Ethan said it helped ease the pressure. Lydia sent me a Pinterest board for Tasha's engagement party. Somehow, I was paying the venue deposit. Somehow, I was picking up custom cookies because store-bought tastes like chemicals. Somehow, I became their everything, and yet I felt like nothing. The Thanksgiving toast was the worst. Uncle Rick raised his glass and declared me the engine of this family. Everyone cheered. I smiled. Later that night, elbow deep in dishes, I asked Ethan to help. In a sec, he said. I waited through the entire commercial break with wrinkled hands. That was 3 months ago. I haven't felt like I belonged since. Which brings us back to the kitchen. The sticky notes, the list of 50 names, the demand to start cooking at 3:00 a.m. I looked at the list, at my reflection in the window, at Ethan's bowed head over his phone. Something inside me clicked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just decisively. I opened my phone, typed 3 words into a note. Not doing this. The words looked dangerous, alive. I deleted them immediately, but the thought remained. I cleaned the counter the way I always do, wrapped the batter in plastic like I always do, straightened the foil pans like I always do. Then I set an alarm, not for cooking, for leaving. Good night, I whispered. No one answered. At 1:45 a.m., the house was silent. Not peaceful, just the kind of silence that feels staged. Every cabinet was perfectly shut, every sticky note neatly placed, every ingredient lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. Orders I would no longer be following. I had set 3 alarms so I wouldn't lose my nerve. When the first one buzzed, soft, deliberate, I didn't hit snooze. In the guest bathroom, fan on to muffle the sound, I changed into jeans, a hoodie, sneakers. I tied my hair into a knot. My hands shook, but my movements were steady. Phone, charger, passport, wallet, my tote bag. Nothing sentimental, nothing heavy, nothing that would tempt me to stay. At 10 p.m., while Lydia lectured me about tablecloth creases, I had bought a one-way ticket using the airline miles I'd saved for years. Miles that never got used because there was always a family obligation, a crisis, a favor. Tonight, those miles became freedom. I stepped into the kitchen and looked at the foil trays, the written times, the silent appliances. It all looked like a stage awaiting a performer. Except I wasn't going to be the lead actress anymore. Someone else could debut as the family's workhorse. On the fridge, I left a note. Gone to the airport. Not cooking. Don't call me until after the party. I added a smiley face, because old habits die hard. It stared back at me with a lie of politeness I no longer possessed. I set Lydia's spare key next to it. At 2:00 a.m., I slipped out the door, locking it behind me. The air was cold. Half freedom, half panic. I walked to the end of the block, expecting at any moment a window to fly open, Lydia shrieking my name, Ethan stumbling outside barefoot and confused. Nothing happened. Just quiet, the first true quiet I'd had in years. The rideshare driver was chipper. Airport this early? He asked. Business or pleasure? Neither, I said. Survival. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. Inside the airport, the fluorescent lights were sharp enough to slice through the night's fog. Travelers drifted past me like ghosts. As I checked my bag, my phone buzzed. 2:37 a.m. Ethan. Babe, did you move my charger? 2:41 a.m. Ethan. Where are you? Mom's asking about the eggs. I turned the phone face down. Boarding began. On the plane, I typed a message. I won't be cooking today. Please don't call me. Then deleted it. Instead, I powered off my phone and watched the runway lights blur into darkness. It was the first yes I had given myself in years. When the plane landed before dawn, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like fireworks. Missed calls, voicemails, text after text. Ethan, are you serious right now? What the hell, Marley? Lydia, what kind of stunt is this? You are humiliating me. Tasha, where is the salmon? Lydia again, Marley, do not ruin today. I didn't respond. Instead, I bought a terrible airport coffee and sat alone at a metal table, watching people rush by with their suitcases and quiet intentions. For the first time in a long time, my life felt like mine. By 8:00 a.m., Lydia had escalated. She sent photos of her empty kitchen counters. Lydia, this is cruel. You can still fix this. Come back now. I typed a single word. No. Then I set my phone down and let the silence work for me. Years of guilt and obligation had taught me that with Lydia, words were not communication, they were currency. Silence was rebellion. By late morning, Ethan called. I answered. Silence first, then breathing, then anger. You abandoned my family, he said, voice trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. I declined unpaid labor, I replied. Plain as that. How can you be so cold? There it was, Lydia's favorite word, borrowed by her son. Cold. Women with boundaries were always called cold by people who thrived off their warmth. I met my friend Sienna at a cafe near the airport around noon. She arrived with a concerned face, expecting tears or explanations. When I told her I'd left in the middle of the night, she didn't gasp. She just nodded and said, Good. No pep talk. No, they meant well. Just one simple word that felt like someone handing me my spine back. Sometimes silence isn't avoidance. Sometimes it's safety. Meanwhile, the group chat exploded. Lydia, if you come now, we won't be mad. We'll say you got stuck in traffic. Oh, and then a minute later, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You owe us, Marley. I'd heard that script so many times it had lost all meaning. So I typed back, I don't owe anyone unpaid labor. Then I added, I'm not your caterer, your house manager, or your dishwasher. For 4 years, I cooked, organized, and paid without thanks. Today, I opted out. And because clarity is a kindness, even when it hurts, I listed every expense. Thanksgiving groceries, $1,136. Tasha's engagement venue deposit, $1,500. Custom cookies, $182. Lydia's dishwasher, $129. Easter supplies, $274. July 4th groceries, $210. None of it split, all of it expected. The chat went silent. Then, Lydia, wow, keeping receipts, that's cold. There it was again, cold. I responded, cold is cooking for 50 people on 4 hours of sleep for free while being scolded over olives. Ethan, you're embarrassing me. I typed back, your family has been embarrassing me in front of myself for years. That afternoon, Lydia posted a picture of a deli tray shaped like 72. Lydia, see, we survived without the drama. For the first time in years, I laughed. Genuinely laughed, because for once, Lydia was right. They did survive without me, and so did I. Later that day, Ethan showed up at my apartment. His face was a mix of outrage, confusion, and wounded pride. You humiliated me, he said. I protected myself, I answered. We're in a relationship, Marley. Act like it. Act like what? I asked. A servant, a wallet, a shield? He didn't answer. Finally, he muttered the line he'd inherited from generations before him. Family is everything. I stared at him. No, I said, respect is everything. Ethan didn't slam the door when he left. He just stood there for a second, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, like he expected me to call him back, to apologize, to explain myself, to undo everything. When I didn't, he exhaled sharply and walked out. The silence that followed was different from the silence at Lydia's house. This one felt clean, like air after a storm. But silence doesn't stay empty for long. By the next morning, Ethan had moved back into his mother's house until things cooled down. Translation. Until I came crawling back with an apology. He underestimated how much my spine had grown overnight. The next step in reclaiming my life was simple. Cut every tie. I opened my laptop, pulled up accounts, and began where it hurt most. The money Lydia and Ethan quietly funneled through me. First, I canceled Ethan's loan autopay from my bank. For years, he had insisted it was temporary. Temporary had turned into habit. Habit had turned into expectation. Second, I removed Lydia from the shared card she borrowed occasionally. Occasionally, meaning once a week for groceries she didn't feel like paying for. Third, I reset every password, every login, every autofill. I didn't send announcements. Boundaries don't require fireworks, just clarity. Then I placed Lydia's spare house key inside an envelope and wrote, Keys are for people who knock. Marley. I dropped it in their mailbox myself. It felt like an exorcism. The fallout came fast. Tasha posted a passive-aggressive Instagram story. Some people can't handle family pressure. We thrive. I hearted it. Lydia texted me a paragraph-long message ending with, You've changed. I replied with one line, I stopped changing for you. Ethan didn't text for 2 days. On the third day, he sent, We need therapy, please. Not an apology, not accountability, just a plea disguised as effort. But I agreed, on one condition. We go to a licensed child couples therapist, not Lydia's pastor cousin, who thinks boundaries are emotional distance. He reluctantly agreed. Therapy was revealing. The therapist, a calm woman named Dr. June, listened to Ethan's entire 10-minute monologue about how I abandoned his family and overreacted. When he finished, she didn't look at me. She looked at him. "Ethan," she asked gently, "did Marley change overnight, or did she stop changing herself for you?" He froze. His mouth opened, closed. His eyes flickered like someone had finally turned on a light in a room he didn't know was dark. She used to be different," he murmured. "Different," Dr. June echoed. "Or compliant?" He didn't answer. And in that silence, I realized something profound. Ethan wasn't the villain of my story. He was the echo of Lydia, raised to believe women stretch until they snap, then stretch some more. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. After therapy, he asked quietly, "Do you want to come back home?" "Home?" I asked. "Where is that, Ethan? Your mother's house? The kitchen? The guest room I escaped to between chores?" He didn't reply. I took a breath that felt like a page turning. "I'm not coming back," I said softly. "Not to the life I had." He nodded, staring at the floor, and for the first time, I saw it. Not anger, not entitlement, just loss. But sometimes you have to let someone lose you so they can find themselves. In the days that followed, my world got quiet in a way I didn't recognize. A good quiet. The kind that didn't mean someone was waiting to ask me for something. The kind that didn't mean I had forgotten a task or failed an imaginary test. The kind that meant I was finally living my life. I cleaned my apartment, not because guests were coming, but because I wanted the space to feel like mine again. I went grocery shopping and bought things Lydia would have disapproved of. Store-bought soup, boxed brownies, a fancy olive mix just to spite Ethan's comment. The cashier complimented my earrings. I almost cried. That's what happens when you've lived too long in a world where small kindnesses feel like luxuries. 3 weeks after leaving, I made my favorite purchase, a brand new set of kitchen knives. Sharp, balanced, dangerously mine. I took them home, unwrapped them slowly, placed them in their slots with a care that felt ceremonial. And then I baked brownies. Not fancy ones, not artisanal ones, just the boxed kind with uneven edges. When they came out warm and soft, I ate one with a cold glass of milk. It tasted like breathing after holding my head underwater for years. It tasted like freedom. I joined a book club. Nobody asked me to host. Nobody handed me a to-do list. Nobody expected me to carry the room. One of the women there, Maya, asked casually, "So what do you like to do for fun?" Not what I can cook, not what I can fix, not what I can provide. What I like. I didn't know how to answer at first, but that question stayed with me, gently, like a hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward myself. I've been answering it ever since. As for Ethan, he texted occasionally at first. Updates from therapy, questions, reflections, real attempts, but not enough to erase the years of imbalance. On one evening he wrote, "You deserve better than what my family expected of you." It wasn't a request, it wasn't guilt. It was acknowledgement. A small door creaked open between us, not for reconciliation, for closure, and I walked through it with gratitude, not longing. I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding. I'm not shrinking myself down to fit someone else's idea of a good partner, a good daughter-in-law, a good woman. I left a kitchen at 2 a.m., but what I really left was a life where my worth was measured by what I produced. I didn't walk away from a family. I walked back into myself.